This Canadian city has eliminated homelessness with an entirely new approach. You've been homeless for almost 3 years. You've slept on park benches in Vancouver, Canada, a Salvation Army shelter in Calgary, and homeless shelters in Grand Prairie and Lethbridge. You've been sleeping rough for so long that you can't remember the last time you had a permanent address, or that you dared to dream that your life might actually lead somewhere. But then you end up in Medicine Hat, Alberta, and everything changes. For in this small Canadian city, homelessness no longer exists. This was the experience of one Donald Smith. It took a matter of weeks for Smith to be given a place of his own in Medicine Hat. "I literally cried. I was happy," Smith told the Calgary Herald in May of 2015. Imagine if this could be every homeless person's experience. The city of Medicine Hat sits in the southeastern part of Alberta, Canada, and is home to roughly 61,000 people. Its only claim to fame up until now was being nicknamed the Gas City because of its natural gas areas. But in 2009, Medicine Hat popped above the radar when its Medicine Hat Community Housing Society, MHCHS, pledged to eradicate vagrancy by 2015. And today that objective has very nearly been achieved. This fact is even more surprising when you consider the fact that Medicine Hat is not an especially wealthy city and is also often prone to floods. So what was it about the approach here that was so different? Well, the MHCHS developed a housing first policy. Put simply, this means that instead of insisting that homeless people clean up their act before they're offered a place to live, the city gets them somewhere to stay as a priority. Indeed, Medicine Hat's mayor Ted Clugson told the Calgary Herald, "Our goal is that within 10 days of discovering that you don't have a place, we'll get you a permanent residence." This is clearly an unusual approach to managing homelessness, and perhaps understandably, the plan was initially met with some resistance. In fact, Clugson himself openly campaigned against it. Clugson told radio show As It Happens that his argument was, in short, "I'm working 2 jobs trying to keep a roof over my head, so why should we subsidize or give a home to these people?" Interestingly though, Clugson was convinced to change his mind. And first and foremost among the reasons why he now supports the scheme is that it makes financial sense. Indeed, as Clugson told As It Happens, this is the cheapest and most humane way to treat people. He said it would cost around $15,000 to provide a home to a displaced person, compared to roughly $75,000 to treat the upshots of homelessness. However, there's a humanitarian reason for Clugson's U-turn. He said, "If you're addicted to drugs, it's going to get pretty hard to get off them if you're sleeping under a park bench." And as he further explained to As It Happened, Housing First basically gives you a home and then tries to get wraparound services to help you with whatever caused your homelessness. Clugson told the Calgary Herald, meanwhile, that in the 6 years between 2009 and 2015, the scheme has provided homes to 885 individuals, 283 of whom were children. Applying this ratio of homeless people to overall population, Clugson claimed that if the scheme took place in another larger city in Alberta, it would be the equivalent of Calgary housing 20,000 people. Incidentally, the Housing First strategy had been applied in the US too. In fact, in May of 2015, the Good News Network reported that Utah had, amazingly, cut the number of homeless individuals in the state by more than 9/10 under the scheme. What's more, a 5-year, $110 million report supports the notion that this approach to homelessness in general is the most cost-effective and compassionate approach to tackling the problem. Louise Bradley, who's head of the Mental Health Commission of Canada, said, "For the first time, we've actually landed on something that shows clear evidence of an approach that keeps people in houses and off the streets." And if the millions of dollars spent on the study, which covered 5 Canadian cities, seem like a lot, it really pales in comparison to the reported $1.4 billion that Canada's taxpayers are currently spending on homelessness. What the success in Medicine Hat and the findings of the study suggest, however, is that Housing First benefits communities holistically and financially, and that can surely only be a good thing.